Death and Dementia, Part 10, where I left off last time. We were we had talked to mom and dad about going to senior living, and they came around to the idea of it because I think they learned it, or they figured out it was necessary. Like I said, dad was further along than mom at the time, and so mom was kind of making more of those decisions. When you grow these facilities, I may have said this, some are going to put someone who has dementia directly into memory care. And mom and dad's biggest thing was staying together. They've been together for many years and they didn't want to be apart. And so, if you can find a senior living referral agent, Carrie Landrum's website is on the last video. I'll put it on this video as well. And she might be able to refer you if you're not in the same area that we are. But that's going to be hugely helpful, so you don't have to go from place to place to find out if they're going to separate them. And for us, that was kind of a deal breaker. One thing that the doctors and Carrie and some of the other people that I talked to that had gone through this before told me is that if you can get your loved ones into a facility like this, if they're going to have to go, try to get them in earlier before they're in memory care. Some places won't take people straight to memory care because they kind of reserve the spots for people that degrade while they're in there. Some people, in memory care sometimes is just too full, and it's easier. I'm glad we did it for our folks because while they still had their mental faculties, they were able to get to know the staff, make some friends with other people there, and things like that. So I'm glad we got them in early, and the staff got to know them more importantly. And so now that they're going downhill still quickly, at least the staff is familiar with their behaviors and the things that they like to do and kind of their patterns. As they started slipping and I took over their finances, one of the things, and you're going to look around your family, there's going to be people that are going to try to take advantage of them. And whether it's from the outside, these scam phone calls that come in, or scam emails, mom and dad don't know how to do email anymore, but they did before. Or family members that are just freaking shady. They're going to try to take advantage of them. So I slowly end up taking everything away. I'm paying all the bills anyway. If they want something, they just call me. The facility they're in now, they have snacks and things like that for them. They know that my next trip down there, I'll pay for whatever snacks mom and dad want. They can have them. And so there's really no need for them to have credit cards anymore. And at the beginning, I did bullshit them and said, hey, there's a problem with your credit card. I need it. And this because they were starting to get some of these phone calls and some people around them here and there that I didn't trust. And, one credit card that they had like a $40,000 limit. And even with power of attorney, I had called credit card companies to lower it down, to like $500 limit or $1,000 limit. Because I figure if we lost that, then fine, we can recover. You lose 40 grand, you're screwed. Or at least we are. And the credit card companies, be prepared for this, some of the rules. Having power of attorney, I could raise the limit on the credit card and I could cancel the credit card. But I was not allowed to lower the limit on the credit card. It's a scam. And so I ended up canceling the credit cards. And everything that they need goes on my credit cards now. And so understand that some of these things are kind of written into the policy of some of these companies. It makes no sense. If I have power of attorney to raise it, I should have power of attorney to lower it, but they're not going to let you do all those things. We did get lucky, and going through the paperwork, I found out that mom and dad had, in their 40s, I think, bought long-term insurance. I think I mentioned that before. The company has been really helpful. If it wasn't for the long-term insurance, we'd figured out the sale of their house based on the costs of assisted living would probably pay for their assisted living for maybe 4 years. Now that the prices have all gone up, you're looking at probably less than that. Fortunately, they got the long-term insurance, so the long-term insurance now is paying for, I want to say, 90 to 95% of it, which is outstanding. That only lasts for about 5 years. And so if they're still around in 5 years, then we dip into the money from the house. Gives us a couple more years. I was really worried about the timing because people with dementia, statistically, they only last a few years when they get as far along as mom and dad are, from what the doctors are telling me. But they can last years and years and years. My grandma was one of them. She, didn't know who anyone was for 6 or 8 years. And you're kind of taking a gamble because, if they do end up living another, 10 years, I have no idea where the money will come from. But it's one of those things that have to figure it out down the road and deal with it because, like I said, the long-term insurance will be done in about 5 years. So, getting the power of attorney through the attorney, I thought was going to be it, and everybody would accept it, and I would move on and skip through the streets and be happy that I did it the right way. Not the case. Some companies, like the bank, for instance, that we went to, and the bank's actually pretty good, were mom and dad bank, but they had to do their own process. And so even though I had all the power of attorney paperwork that had gone through the court, been signed by the lawyer, been signed by mom and dad before they had declined, it wasn't good enough. And I actually had to bring mom and dad in, even though they were past the point, so they could kind of see them, I guess. I don't know. And it was a lengthy process dealing with the bank, and ultimately it finally worked out, thank God. But understand that just having that paperwork is not going to help you at every place. And a lot of the paperwork you are going to do has to be notarized, so you're going to be going around to notaries and things like that as well. Every entity is going to have a separate process. In order to get mom and dad into assisted living, you need a doctor's note because the assisted living facility has to know their medical condition and if they have dementia and any other underlying medical conditions. And as mentioned before, dad's doctor is great. And so how it worked there is I sent dad's doctor the healthcare power of attorney, and everything went through him. So if he sent dad out to a cardiologist, the cardiologist reported back to the primary physician. All the information flowed from that one doctor to me and my brother, the way that it should be. It makes it much easier. How the healthcare places work, out here you have a healthcare provider, which is the big conglomerate, that the huge umbrella where whatever healthcare you have is under. For us, it goes through my dad's union to that big healthcare provider. And then from the provider, you have the healthcare network, which is separate. So there are several networks under each provider. And then you have all the separate doctors. And like I said, with dad's, it was easy. Send his doctor the healthcare power of attorney, and we could get everything done. And it was a pain in the ass dealing with the provider, which I can go into more later. But you really don't need daily contact with them anyway. You just need it if there were like an extensive hospital stay or something like that. Finally got that done. With mom's doctor, on the other hand, like I said, he's worthless, absolutely worthless. And the reason we kept him is because I thought she liked him. It took a year and a half or 2 years when I finally sat down and talked to her, and she actually liked dad's doctor more, and so I was happy to run from him. But with them, they wouldn't accept the healthcare power of attorney. I had to send it into their network. We sent it to their network several weeks later. It was still not available to all the independent doctors, which meant I couldn't do anything. The independent doctors refused to take the healthcare power of attorney in person. I said, I'll drive down there and give it to you. They refused. And the time crunch was I needed the doctor to fill out a form to get mom into the facility, like dad's doctor did like that. He did it easy. So I ultimately ended up going down with an envelope. So this is for the doctor only. And I had the healthcare power of attorney, and he got it, called me up. He was bitching and complaining that it was 15 pages long. I can't do it. He has to do it. So just stop and just shut up and do your job for the love of Christ. And ultimately he got it done, but that's kind of what a pain in the ass was. His office didn't communicate with the network or the provider. And so none of these places would give healthcare power of attorney to like a cardiologist. So if mom had to go to a cardiologist, I'd have to provide the healthcare power of attorney to them. And you're waiting like 2 weeks. Fortunately, like I said, got him switched. So understand what kind of doctor's office you're getting into, and don't be afraid. It took me too long to switch. If you need to switch, you're the one that's going to be doing all the work. And it might have to be a tough conversation with the people you're taking care of, but you can't keep banging your head against the wall dealing with a lot of this stuff. It's hugely frustrating. So ultimately, ended up getting the doctor's notes and got approval from the assisted living facility to let mom and dad move there. And I'll go into more at that on how that process worked in the next couple of videos. Until then, God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.